Hello and welcome to our next video. In this series, we're discussing current and historical events that inspired the writing of 2034, A Cautionary Tale. Today we will be talking about racism. Early on, when I was beginning to write the first drafts of the story, I remember reading a story in the news about a mother sending her child to school. It started off normally enough. The mother went to the school and wanted her child to be in a particular classroom because she knew the teacher was really good for that particular grade. However, the mother was surprised to find out that her daughter couldn't be with that teacher, and she wondered why. Well, her daughter was black, and the principal said all of the black students were in a black classroom with a black teacher. The mother was astonished and upset, as she should be, because she did not have any idea that the school was segregating the students based on race. And that was here in America just a few years ago. So why is it that we're back to segregating students after all of the progress that we made with civil rights? To answer this question, let's talk about a couple of movements that have happened in our country over the past few years: Black Lives Matter and critical race theory. These ideologies, or movements as they could be called, do the same thing. They want people to look at every social interaction through the lens of race. So how does this affect our day-to-day life? Or why is this important for people who aren't sending their kids to school? Well, this might impact you more than you realize. One example that I can give where it affected me was during a foster parent training class. During this class, we met on Zoom and we did a session about diversity, cultural awareness. They had us look at 9 images. Each picture was just a person, male, female, various races, wearing various outfits, and they asked people to just take turns, pick one person in your mind, and describe the person so that everyone else could guess who you're thinking of. We had turn after turn after turn after turn, and at the end of everyone doing theirs, the leader asked, if they noticed that nobody had ever talked about race. Not once did a person mention the race of the person as a clue or indicator to help someone guess who they were thinking of. And the reason is, people are afraid to talk about it. People are afraid to notice race. People are afraid to address race because nobody wants to be accused of being racist and nobody wants to say the wrong thing. And we have such a volatile culture about it at the moment that people are scared to talk about what's going on. Even just with simple things, people are scared to just notice what they observe with their eyes because they don't want to be accused of being racist. But critical race theory and Black Lives Matter are not the only people who have propagated ideas about how we should think about race. If we go back in history and go back to the ideas of Martin Luther King Jr., we see a different way of thinking. Where Black Lives Matter and critical race theory tell us that we should look at every social interaction through the lens of race, and we should look at people and define them based on their race and their interactions with other races, Martin Luther King Jr. taught us that we should judge people based on the content of their character. We need a way to evaluate these two ideas. They're very different, so how do we know which one is right? How do we know which one we should be using? Well, if we look to the teachings of Jesus, he actually taught his followers how to judge whether or not someone was a prophet. A prophet is someone who speaks the words of God, and he told them to judge them based on their fruit. We can use the same principle to just evaluate whether or not an ideology is true. Let's look at the fruit of that ideology. So if we look at Black Lives Matter and we look at critical race theory, we see the fruit that it bears is fear and division. Fear because people don't want to talk about things that they see and experience and are afraid of accusations. And separation because we literally see children divided from one another race by race. But we also see this in safe spaces and in the different social interactions people have where they'll make groups where one race is excluded or only minorities can get in. We see division. If we contrast that with Martin Luther King Jr.'s ideology, we see that it brings relationship. People join in relationships with each other because when you're forced to look at someone based on their character, you're forced to see their humanity. You see their ability to grow, their ability to learn, and you know that they're like you, the ability that you have to grow and to learn and to develop. And that forms a bond between you. Whether or not you're the same race as that person, it doesn't matter because you're both human. So what does this mean for us? We should not live our lives in fear. We should be willing to form relationships with other people and recognize the humanity in others. It doesn't matter if we're all the same. We're all human. We all have the ability to grow, the ability to learn, the ability to change. That's what can help us overcome racism and develop good, healthy relationships with others and safe communities where everyone can thrive. Thanks for joining us for this video. Be sure to check out our other videos and content and get your copy of 2034, A Cautionary Tale. Thank you.